Hey, Lily. You've been unusually quiet today. You didn't even react when I called you earlier. Is everything okay? Or are you just trying to avoid talking about it?
Hey, Ethan. I'm here. I just don't know what to say. It's one of those feelings you can't explain easily. Nothing new happened, but something old hasn't left either. And it's been sitting in my head all day.
That sounds like something you've been holding in for a while. You usually don't get this quiet unless it really matters. Is it about someone? Or just everything piling up again?
It's about someone, but not in a simple way. It's not like I want them back, but I also can't seem to let them go completely. And that's the part that's confusing me.
So, you're stuck in that space where you understand everything. You know why it ended, you know what went wrong, and you know it wasn't right for you. But somehow, your feelings didn't get the same clarity your mind did. And now, you're left dealing with emotions that don't match your reality. That's one of the hardest places to be in, honestly.
Exactly. And it's exhausting in a way I didn't expect. Because I'm not confused about them anymore. I see things clearly now. I know they weren't consistent. I know they hurt me. And I know I deserved better. But even after knowing all of that, I still miss them sometimes. And that makes me question myself more than anything else.
That doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. Understanding something logically doesn't automatically disconnect your emotions from it. You can know someone wasn't right for you and still feel attached to them. Because attachment isn't built on logic, it's built on experiences and feelings. And those don't just disappear because you decided they should.
But it feels wrong. Like I should be over it by now. Like if I really understood everything, I wouldn't feel this way anymore. I keep thinking something is wrong with me for still caring. Because if they weren't good for me, why does it still hurt like this? Why does it feel like I lost something important?
Because you didn't just lose a person, you lost an experience. You lost the way they made you feel when things were good. The attention, the connection, the moments where everything felt right. And your brain keeps replaying those parts instead of the painful ones. That's why it feels like you lost something valuable.
That's exactly what happens. I don't think about the confusion first or the hurt. I remember the moments where I felt seen, understood, important. Those memories feel so real that everything else fades in comparison. And suddenly it feels like I lost something good, even if it wasn't.
So you're not really missing them as a person. You're missing the emotional version of the connection you had, the feeling they gave you, not the reality of who they were. And that's what keeps pulling you back mentally, because your mind is chasing a feeling, not a person.
That makes sense. But it also makes it harder. Because now it feels like I don't even know what I'm holding on to anymore. If it's not really them, then what is it? Why does it feel so real, so strong, so hard to let go of? It's like I'm attached to something I can't even fully explain. And I know someone watching this right now feels the same. They know that person wasn't right for them. They know going back, we'd only repeat the same cycle. But still, they keep thinking about them late at night. And that confusion makes them question everything about themselves.
What you're feeling isn't confusion. It's emotional attachment trying to survive. Your mind has accepted the truth, but your emotions are still holding on. And when those two don't align, it creates this constant internal tension. That's why it feels like you're stuck in between moving on and going back. Not because you don't understand, but because you haven't detached yet.
And detaching feels like losing something all over again. it's not just about them. It's about letting go of how I felt with them. And that part scares me more than anything. Because what if I never feel that way again? What if that connection was the only time I felt like that?
That fear is what keeps you attached. Not the person, but the belief that they were your only source of that feeling. Your mind convinces you that letting go means losing something irreplaceable, even though that feeling didn't belong to them. It came from you. They just triggered it.
So I'm not really losing the feeling. I just don't know how to feel it without them. And that's why I keep going back in my mind, because it's the only place I know where that feeling exists, even if it's just a memory now.
Maybe that's the real reason you can't let go. Not because you need them, but because you don't know how to replace what they made you feel. So instead of creating it again, you revisit it in your mind, over and over, even if it hurts, because it's familiar.
So I'm holding on to pain just because it reminds me of something that once felt good. That's honestly hard to accept. But it also explains why I can't move on, because I'm not letting go of the feeling.
Tell me something honestly, Lily. When you say you're trying to move on, what does that actually look like for you? Because sometimes we think we're moving on, but our actions quietly keep us stuck in the same place. Are you really letting go, or just pretending to?
If I'm being honest, I don't think I've fully let go. I stopped talking to them, but I didn't stop thinking about them. Sometimes I go back and read our old chats just to feel something again. I tell myself it's just curiosity, but deep down, I know it's not. It's like I'm keeping a small connection alive without admitting it.
That's not moving on. That's emotional revisiting. You're not in the relationship anymore, but you're still visiting it mentally. And every time you go back to those messages, you're reminding your mind that the connection still exists. So, of course, it doesn't fade. You're not letting it.
I didn't think of it that way. I thought since I wasn't talking to them, it meant I was doing better. But now that you say it, it feels like I've been holding on to pieces of them. Like I didn't let the relationship end fully. I just changed the way I stay connected to it. And I know someone watching this is doing the same thing. They've stopped texting, but they still check profiles. They don't talk anymore, but they still revisit memories. And they call it moving on, even though a part of them never really left.
That's how emotional attachment works. It doesn't end suddenly. It fades only when you stop feeding it. And right now, you're feeding it through memories. Not because you want to go back, but because you're not ready to feel the emptiness without it.
That emptiness is what scares me the most. Because when I don't think about them, everything feels quiet. And not a peaceful quiet. It feels like something is missing. Like there's a space I don't know how to fill.
That space isn't meant to be filled immediately. It's not something you fix overnight or replace with someone else. That emptiness is actually part of detaching. It's what's left when something you were used to is gone. And avoiding it is what keeps you stuck.
So instead of sitting with that feeling, I keep going back to something familiar. Even if it hurts, it feels better than feeling nothing at all. That's why I keep replaying everything in my head, because it's easier than facing that emptiness.
Exactly. You're choosing familiar pain over unfamiliar emptiness because pain at least gives you something to feel. But emptiness feels like losing control, and your mind tries to avoid that at all costs, even if it means going back to something unhealthy.
That's actually scary when you say it like that, because it means I'm not just missing them, I'm avoiding myself. I'm avoiding what I feel when they're not there anymore. And I didn't even realize I was doing that.
That realization is important because now you're not just looking at them, you're looking at yourself. And that's where real change starts. Not when you understand them, but when you understand why you keep going back.
I think I always focused on what they did, how they treated me, what went wrong between us. But I never really looked at why I stayed attached, why I couldn't let go even after everything. And maybe that's the part I needed to understand. Someone watching this right now is blaming the other person for everything. What they did, how they left, how they hurt you. But a part of this is also about why you're still holding on.
There's a difference between being alone and feeling lonely. You're alone right now, but you feel lonely because of attachment, because your mind is still connected to something that's not there. And that creates a gap between reality and expectation. That gap is what you're feeling.
So I'm not actually lonely. I'm just attached to something that's no longer in my life. And that attachment is making everything feel incomplete. Like I'm waiting for something that's not coming back. That explains why it feels so heavy.
Yes, and the longer you stay in that space, the harder it becomes to move forward because you're not fully in the present. You're partly living in the past, and you can't build something new while holding on to something old.
So I've been dividing myself. One part trying to move forward, and another part still holding on to what's gone. No wonder it feels exhausting. I've been stuck between two realities this whole time. Thank you, Ethan. This helps me and our audience a lot. See you tomorrow.